Hello and welcome to the Knights of the Highlands as 3.5 Dungeons & Dragons Characters Episode 7, Sir Malcovian, the Bane of Mages. So taking a look just kind of at Malcovian in general, there aren't any pictures of him really from sword fighting, so this video will be quite light on those and quite heavy on pictures of the model and character sheet. So sorry, I asked people, they just don't exist. So let's head, I guess, then directly into the model. Sir Malcovian here, the colors that are on him, it's the Lead Belcher there for the silver, Cantor blue for the blue, Retributor armor for the gold, Mournfang brown for the leather parts, Ceramite white for the belt, and then Standard Mechanicus gray for the bedroll, and that looks like it. Oh, and Rakarath flesh for the skin. So, looking at the model here, you see from the front there, he's got that +1 longsword. He's got a throwing axe on his belt, and he does have a big steel shield. I had made the character sheet. It says light steel shield, but I'm going to change that to a heavy steel shield. And then painted there on the model is the Star of Mystra, which he is a worshipper there of Mystra. So backpack, bedroll on the back, kind of a neat little, a good, neat little stance. Yeah, so let's dig into the character sheet. Malcovian is Hexblade 10, Occult Slayer 5, Lawful Neutral, worships Mystra. Looking at the stats there, 18, 16, 16, 13, 13, 18. In the combat block, 15, 10, 5 for BAB. He's got a +1 longsword that is Magebane, which means when it crits, it's going to go off big against anything that casts arcane spells. And then he's got a throwing axe there for a ranged attack option. Digging into his saves are 7, 7, 15. Will save is hugely important for anyone who tackles mages. And that is Malcovian's main purpose amongst the Knights of the Highlands. His focus for this game is to hunt down free magic sorcerers and then really any enemy sorcerer. But he has specific duties among the Knights of the Highlands, fighting in and against not necessarily free magic beings, although those can cast spells, but specifically humans who've been corrupted by free magic sorcery. And so hence the Hexblade and the Occult Slayer there. They're all designed to attack and defeat those who cast magic. Looking at the armor, he's got Mithril Full Plate. Need to be able to move around to keep those, reflex saves high, be able to get out of area of effect magic. And then his shield is Magic Eating. Magic Eating is pretty nifty. If you're prepared, you can basically do a counterspell function, and if that works, then the spell is absorbed, and then you gain hit points back equal to the level of the spell, which is a pretty nifty little thing there, especially for someone who fights mages all the time. So, moving on to page 2. Here we've got 106,121 experience. You'll see that adventuring gear there. That's going to be common, the Knight's livery. And then unique to Malcovian is the Alchemical Lab. Malcovian is responsible for the Knights of the Highlands for any, kind of alchemy and potion brewing and that kind of stuff. And he's got stewardship of the lab that's there. So anything you might want to cook up, his, kind of the folks that live at the Ebonhold who aren't necessarily combatants, they're involved in making sure that it's stocked with herbs and those kind of things that you might need. And then you can pretty much brew anything in the lab. Going down to magic items, Burst of Shielding, that absorbs Magic Missile. Ring of Spell Battle, it makes doing counter spells and casting combative magic easier. Gloves of Spell Disruption, and Shirt of the Moon. Like I said, I love those shirts. That's going to give GR3/silver. Moving on to the third page. Now, here we have the first character with a familiar. But first, we're going to poke up there. Malcovian can, because of his Hexblade levels, cast a first and a second level spell. He's not a spellcaster himself, but the Hexblade and we'll see this again when we get to the last page where we talk about character and class features. The Hexblade is made to disrupt and mess with magic, and so that is even more so true for the spells, the Hexblade spells, like they're usually counterspell and that kind of stuff. So Malcovian does have a little bit of spell utility. You can find that character and assign his spells however you wish. But let's pop down into this Raven familiar. Its name is Corvus. I couldn't think of a better name for Raven. That's the Latin word, or part of the Latin nomenclature for Raven. Plus, it's a cool name. And it's also a Warhammer 40k Primarch, so of the Raven Guard, go figure, right? So Corvus there is intelligent. He has 26 hit points, strength 5, dex 15, con 10, int 16. The Raven has better int than a couple of the Knights of the Highlands. Wisdom 14, charisma 6. Ravens aren't particularly charismatic. It's got a 40-foot fly speed, an AC of 16, mostly due to its size. It can attack with its claws, but it has a magic item. If you pop down into the feats section just down there, you can see it's got a collar of ice breath. I didn't have a place for a magic item. So the collars allow familiars or magic or companions or even animals just that you have to use a breath weapon attack. And so Malcovian's Raven can use a cone of cold for 46, just like a dragon could. So that's that collar there, and that's the second attack option. 0 in the grapple modifier. It has an insistent personality. I hate to compare it to like Navi from Zelda, but it's very attention demanding, almost like the Raven that Lord Commander Mormont has in Game of Thrones. So listen and spot are its skills. It does have the speak language function, and so it can speak common. And then, if Malcovian levels up, if you're using him, his Raven also gets the opportunity to learn other languages. The next one really should be Elven. Alertness, improved evasion, share spells, which means Malcovian can cast through them. Empathic link, deliver touch spells, speak with master, low light vision, and then the Raven can speak with other birds. So Malcovian can communicate with other avian folk. The Raven can talk with other birds and then communicate that back. Obviously, when you're talking about how animals communicate, some of those things are going to be lost in translation. So if you're going to use Malcovian and you're DMing and you have this ability, this doesn't give him the ability to just smoothly talk to any bird. He has to kind of interpret. So if you're DMing or you're using him as a PC, be prepared to have to kind of interpret some things because animals see things different. So, mark that kind of if you're going to use this character. And then let's pop over to the last page. If you're talking about a signature skill, gather information, diplomacy, and intimidate are Malcovian's highest skills. And then concentration is following right up on that. So he also has Profession Mage Hunter, which gets a synergy kind of with the gather information. So when you're really looking for those kind of things that would tip you off, or it makes him a better detective when we're talking about magic, and he can follow. Conceivably, part of that would allow him to follow magical auras and magical trails. So that's something he's built for. Popping up into the racial traits class features, he's got the Hexblade's Curse 3 times a day, Arcane Resistance, Metal. Metal is an ability that lets you screw with mages who are casting targeted spells against you, and I think eventually it lets you kind of mess around with even area of effect spells to give yourself like a little haven in them. So if a fireball dropped in an area you're in, you get basically like a little hub if this goes off, a little like safe space inside of it. Summon Familiar, Greater Hexblade's Curse, Magical Defense +3, and then you're in the stuff from the Occult Slayer, Weapon Bond. It lets you put part of your soul into your weapon, which then allows your weapon to turn away magic abilities. Vicious Strike, Mind Over Magic twice a day, Aura Vision, which again lets you see magical auras, Non-Detection Cloak, and Blank Thoughts, and those make it harder for magical means to detect when you're around. So basically, Malcovian cannot be the subject of scrying spells or anything that would give away his location by magical means. So if people are hunting him, or if he is hunting other people, they're not going to be able to sense him coming with those like divination spells. Feats: improved initiative, weapon focus longsword, Spellfire user, and Iron Will. Iron Will is going to make his will save higher, which is reflected on the first sheet. I want to talk a little bit about Spellfire user. Spellfire is something that is endemic to or native to Faerun, and there's a couple novels written about it. But basically, if you are a Spellfire user, which they're very, very rare, you can use Spellfire, which is like an innate connection to magic, to absorb and refocus other magical auras. So if you're ready for it and someone casts like a lightning bolt at you, you can, if you succeed on your Spellfire check, suck it up. And it goes away. Like they use and then you basically get charges in Spellfire, which you can use to heal yourself, you can use to heal others, you can use to make a Spellfire attack, which in which case it comes out as like magical fire, almost like a scorching ray. It's very effective and maybe a little bit broken, but if you haven't heard of Spellfire, you can get the information for it in the Player's Guide to Faerun, especially in 3.5. It's very helpful. I've played a couple of characters who are Spellfire users. You can definitely mess with your DM's magic users or even your fellow PCs very easily. So it's also a way that you can turn an arcane caster into a healer if necessary, because they can absorb their own spells and then transfer them back out as healing spells. So you get kind of these nifty shifts in how you're utilizing your arcane, as kind of like a pseudo-divine method. So that's the character sheet. In the game, we're talking about free magic beings, right? They exist outside of arcane or divine magic, and so I really felt it was necessary, because all of the Knights of the Highlands, they deal with these magical threats from another world, but I thought it was incredibly important to specifically build a character whose job it is to hunt down the humans and elves and all those folks who dabble in the free magic. So while Malcovian is certainly an effective combatant against free magic creatures, because they're also magic wielders, specifically he's looking at those people who would harbor, seek to set free, ally with those free magic beings to try to stop the spread of free magic. So he serves an incredibly specific and incredibly important purpose in the Knights of the Highlands. So that's it for this video. More to come. I hope you guys are enjoying these, and I will see you next time.